I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Pistons fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you all for listening. Please subscribe. We did it. You did it. Thank you, every one of you, all 2,000 people that subscribed. We went over 2,000, so I really appreciate that. And Detroit basketball, our Pistons won our first game of the season, 105-95 over the Philadelphia 76ers, moving our record to 1-4. The dynamic duo of Cade Cunningham, our guards of the future, scored 45 points, most of them in the first three quarters, but they were magnificent. They've been really good all year. It's been disappointing that we didn't win some of those games that were so close. But the thing that we got out of it is Cade and Ivey have played really well. And, they're still really young. Some people act like, oh, Cade's no good. Cade's never going to be good. He's 22 or 20. He's 23 years old. And Ivey's 22 years old. And they are really good. These other guys that are better, they're older, most of them. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the league. But anyway, not to be negative, because this is just a great win for our team. Because I'm worried, I think the pressure this year, even in those fourth quarters, could be traced back to last year. I think the fact that we had such a terrible, terrible, terrible season last year, winning only 14 games, that we felt so much pressure to win games. Just like during that 28-game losing streak. It's in their heads, but I still think there's some residue in their head from last year, so that was big. I just don't know what happened. We got to play the Knicks on Friday, and then we have to play the Nets on Sunday. And had we probably could lose to the Knicks. The Knicks have a really good team. They've struggled this year a little bit, but they're still loaded with talent. And we're playing them at home, though, so who knows. And then we got to play the Nets. Well, the Nets either beat or almost beat some good teams. They almost beat the Bucks. They lost maybe in overtime. But, they're dangerous. And when you have that pressure, we have to beat the Nets. We've lost. If we would have been 0-6 going into that game, that would have put so much pressure, I think. That would have been hard. So it was nice to get that monkey off our back and nice to win. Nice for Tobias Harris. Goes back to Philly. Every time he touches the ball, the Philly fans boo him. Of course, they're legendary because they booed Santa Claus at a football game during long years ago, but they like to boo. And Tobias is such a class act. He's such a great person, even if he's not a great player. So part of the problem is Tobias got nearly a max contract, lots of money, and then at one point they decided to keep him and let go of Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler, he's hard to live with sometimes. He's been having some hard times in Miami right now, but they let him go. So the fans took all their negativity out on Tobias, the fact that they didn't do better in the playoffs, even though a lot of the problem is just Joel Embiid can't play. So Embiid and Paul George didn't play tonight. They're two great players, and so the game could have been different. We were still 4.5-point underdogs going into this game, and so that was nice that we pulled it out, and it was nice to see Cade and Ivey play well. They scored 20. Ivey had 23 and Cade had 22, but most of the points were scored in the first three quarters. But yeah, Cade made some step back or threes where Drummond went behind the pick, and they did the pick and roll with Drummond. They should have capitalized on that. They should have attacked that all night. And then he stuck the three when he stepped behind him. Or one time he did a little bit of a step back on Drummond, so that was cool. Ivey had 2 tomahawk electric dunks, and then another time he drives to the basket, gets up so high, 2-hand dunks, so you can't tell him. Ivey, he was juiced. He had the adrenaline going tonight, and so did Beef Stew. So Duran, it's heartbreaking. Duran's from the Philadelphia area. He was great in high school there, and I'm sure he had lots of people in the stands. And how do you do it? 11 minutes and he fouls out. 11 minutes. That's crazy. And half of them were what I would call dumb fouls, and he especially they're dumb when you are already in foul trouble. So you can be more aggressive and take more chances. But once you're in foul trouble, he had 3 in the first half. So that's why he hardly got to play. And for us to win, I thought he was going to have an advantage over Drummond. Drummond's a good player. Drummond's been one of the better backup centers in the league, but Jalen is so much faster, quicker, Duran's so much quicker that I thought, even though his Drummond's size would have been hard to deal with, but I think Duran would have had an advantage with the quickness. But Beef Stew had to step up, and he played like a man possessed, and he got 11 rebounds, but he just was down there battling. He had 3 blocks. At one time, Duran got a rebound, and Stu shoved him to the ground. And Stu's got something just a little bit off, that he's just, he gets real emotional and real fired up, and that adrenaline, you got to see it when he went chasing after LeBron that one game when he cut him open. But he was great tonight, with lots of energy. How a guy can impact the game. He made 1 basket. Stu made 1 basket, but yet he had this enormous impact on the game, especially with Duran out. Obviously we don't win the game. But anyway, back to, he shoved Duran down, and I loved it. There's a dead ball that the refs reviewed it. I think they ended up calling a flagrant foul on Stu, but JB didn't want anything to do with it. JB was chewing him, on the sideline, and I think that I really respect that, because Stu's got to control that emotion. I mean, that emotion is what makes him as good as he is, and it's surprising. You know what? Stu made all those threes last year. He shot 1 3. He's 0 for 1 this year on threes. The whole season, he shot 1. And the one he shot he was wide open in the corner. I can't remember who it was against, but he was wide open. He hesitated. Finally, a guy kind of flies by him, and then he finally shoots it. And and so it's just weird that I always kept saying that the other teams didn't respect him, but he didn't want to shoot threes. So it's just interesting how the psychology of things go with some people. When our man Tim Hardaway Jr., he likes to shoot threes, and so does Beasley. So we'll talk about them. But back to Tobias. So Tobias started out, it was heartbreaking. I just felt so bad for him. I loved him when he was with the Pistons the first time. He is a class act, but he has struggled. We would not only have 1 win right now if Tobias played decent. If Tobias shot the ball like he's close to what he's normally shot at, we would have won some of those games for sure. Same thing you could be saying with Beasley and Hardaway. They've shot terrible. I did find out, CP3, Davius Caldwell-Pope, KCP, he's shooting like low 30% from the field and 20% on 3. So he's struggling too. So, and he's a veteran. You wouldn't think they would struggle, but Luka's struggling. But then he hit the step back last night. Man, that was unbelievable against Minnesota. But anyway, I loved it. George tries to be impartial, and sometimes he can't help himself. It bothered him so bad that they were booing Tobias. And again, he started out 1 for 6. And then he went 7 for 12 the rest of the game. But he had 14 rebounds. But when he made a tough shot, George says, "Take that, Boo Birds," to the fans in Philadelphia. So I love that. But I love the passion George has, and he loves his Pistons. So Hardaway, and I'm not a Hardaway fan. I'll admit that. He was great tonight, and he's had another good game this season. The thing I struggle with him is I watched him over his career. He takes bad shots. When he takes good shots, he shoots a real good percentage. When he catches the ball in rhythm, or if he's open, even slightly contested, he makes a real high percentage. So he played 31 minutes tonight, 5 for 9, 5 for 7 on threes, which is phenomenal. But he played 31 minutes, and it still bothers me. He had 0 rebounds. And he did have 3 assists and 16 points. So, he really was a valuable contributor. Again, if they wouldn't have struggled so much, as when I told you the one game, I think the Celtics game, Tobias and Hardaway combined for like 4 for 18 and 1 for 10 on threes, and we barely lose the game. I listened to a podcaster today, a Piston podcaster. He says, "Oh, we need more veterans. We need more veterans. Or we wouldn't be losing these games." Well, our veterans, we would have won these games if our veterans played like they had been in their past. But, it's just everybody's trying to win. The veterans aren't trying to miss shots. When Cade struggles or Cade turns the ball over, he's not trying to turn it over. He wants to win. If anything, his problem is he in the fourth quarter, his struggles, because, again, his his percentage is way worse in the fourth quarter. It's just, it is. I mean, I did see somebody, I wrote it down, I don't know where I put it, but his percentage is way worse in the fourth quarter. And it wasn't good tonight. He didn't hardly shoot. They were trapping him right away a lot in the second half. They were just getting the ball out of his hands right away. And so it was hard for him to get a shot off because they just made other people try to beat him. But he still doesn't get a call. Cade Cunningham does not get calls. He gets fouled all the time. He does not get fouls. But anyway, Tobias, again, he used 8 for 18, ended up in 0 for 3 on threes, so Tobias's 3-point attempts went way down last year for Philadelphia. So, we got him. He's been open, man. He's got open looks in all these games. It's not like he's shooting. Hardaway and Beasley, they'll shoot ridiculous threes with guys draped all over him, but Tobias has been getting open ones, and he's still shooting a bad percentage. But he had an assist and a block and 18 points, and I'm really happy for him. Ivey, again, he 37 minutes. He 9 for 17, 3 for 7 on threes, which is good. 2 for 2 on free throws, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and he had 4 turnovers, which is too many. But we have the backcourt. We have everybody, and I still do this. Everybody makes judgments, and they're right. We're all right, and we're all wrong. But all these guys that are bragging up Ivey now that do Piston podcasts and stuff, a lot of them said, "Oh, which player would you want the Pistons to trade?" "Oh, I don't think Cade could play with Ivey, and I think we should get rid of Ivey." Everybody was dissing Ivey all summer and all fall, and now everybody's on the bandwagon. So anyway, it's all good. He played a really good game. Cade, 36 minutes, 6 for 15, which isn't great. 4 for 8 on threes, which is awesome. 6 for 6. Free throws, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 turnovers. He had 1 turnover at half, so he made 4 turnovers in the second half. When they were trapping him, he didn't handle it that well. Beasley played 25 minutes, 4 for 11, 3 for 10 on threes. And again, he shoots some tough ones. 0 for 1 on free throws, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Like I said, Stu was tremendous. I think I did his stat line. He had 3 blocks, 7 points, but he really impacted the game. Fontecchio is a huge disappointment. I don't think he's really been given a chance to get in rhythm. He played 17 minutes tonight and 0 for 1. He shot 1 3 and missed it. It was a good look, but he just doesn't get to touch the ball. He was so good for us last year. I guess I'm glad. I wanted us to sign him for at least 3 years and more money. And I don't know. Sometimes you just have to get the right coaching that gives you the right amount of confidence. I still wouldn't be surprised if he comes around and has some good games. So he had 4 rebounds and 2 assists in only 17 minutes. So that's good. Holland's been, the last 3 games, Holland's shooting percentage, he's over 50%. He was 3 for 4 tonight. And no threes, but he's only played 13 minutes. But I like the way JB's working him in the lineup, giving him some experience and not playing him when we are trying to win games. So we shot 46%, 42% on threes, which is great. We out rebounded them 55 to 44 so plus over 10 rebounds. We out rebounded our last 2 opponents. 23 assists, which was a lot better than 16 we had last game. 16 turnovers, which isn't good, but we had 6 in the first quarter, so we only had 10 after the first quarter. So that's not bad. But Philadelphia, they got not a great team, and they had only 9 turnovers. So Maxey had 32 tonight, 12 for 25. In the first half, Maxey was 8 for 15, and the rest of their team was 8 for 35 in the first half. So they, when you take Paul George and beat out of the lineup, it makes life hard for you. But anyway, regardless of anything, huge win for Detroit. We just needed to get that monkey off our back, and I think the guys can play free. The schedule, we're still going to lose games that we should win, and hopefully we're going to win games that we should lose. I can see that happening, and hopefully they gain more confidence, and hopefully things get even better, and the veterans shoot more consistently. But we are learning. So, Duran was terrible tonight, but he's had a really good year. Duran, Cade, and Ivey have had good years, and then it's just unfortunate we're missing Asar, but hopefully that he comes back. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for 2,000 of you subscribing, and I want to Make sure that you be the reason that somebody feels heard and cared for. Go Pistons.